We now join ABC's Wide World of Sports in progress.
Calls itself the biggest little city in the world, is nestled in a pretty green valley just east of famed Lake Tahoe. We're headed towards Stead Field, where the races actually take place. The highlight of these races, of course, are the Unlimiteds, a brutal test of power between World War II fighter planes, F-8F Bearcats, P-51s, and F-4U Corsairs. Returning today is Darrell Greenemeier, the world champion piston speed record holder in his F-8F Bearcat. New this year are the Beech Staggerwing biplanes of the 1930s. The center of the competition in the race, closed course speed runs around pylons, a demanding test of pilot skills. It's pilot skill and coordination that really determine the winner. The careful use of throttle, aileron, and rudder. Throttle, the basic instrument that governs your altitude. Firewall now for climb. And then power back for descent. And aileron, a gentle left bank with a little bit of top rudder, left rudder poured in to make it smooth. Rolling out of the left bank into a steady right bank. A little bit of right rudder poured in, again to make it smooth. This is the kind of thing you can't see as they come screaming around the pylons in the fight for victory. Now we're about ready to make our approach to Stead. We're going to call Stead Tower for clearance. Stead Tower, Cherokee 300 Alpha Charlie, 4 north, landing clearance.
Cherokee 300 Alpha Charlie, Stead Tower, left traffic, runway 26, over.
Roger, 300 Alpha Charlie.
While we make our final approach to Stead Field, a display of high-speed jet acrobatics by the Navy's famed Blue Angels flying their F-4 Phantoms. And on display at the field is one of the most complete exhibitions of classic and contemporary aircraft ever assembled. A history book, as it were, of U.S. aviation, the Navy's famed Grumman Duck of the 1930s and 40s. The famed Ford Tri-Motor, still flying all over the world and used in firefighting. A classic airplane that still flies beautifully. The Army Beaver observation aircraft in use across the world. The Otter Stoll straight takeoff and landing airplane used by commuter airlines. And the Army's OV-2 counterinsurgency warfare aircraft. Another famed aircraft, the Stearman Crop Duster, a reverse Staggerwing, still in use all over. And taxiing out now, the new entry in this race today, the Beech Staggerwing of the 30s and 40s, so called because the lower wing leads or is ahead of the upper wing, or so is staggered. The race is about to begin, but before it does, let's take a look at the oval, horseshoe-shaped course they'll be flying today. There's the front straightaway. He begins to round the pylon on our ABC Wide World of Sports miniature model. The course is 3 miles long, 6 pylons, and the real secret of the course is flying those pylons tight, rounding them tight in racked up steep banks, so as to keep ahead of your opposition and deny him the chance to sneak in ahead of you on the pylons. Here's the straightaway again, where they pick up speed, and here's what it looks like from the pilot's eye point of view, as filmed by our ABC cameras in the trials. Here he is, racked up in a really steep 90-degree bank about 100 feet off the ground. And that's the way it looks on the model. And here we are back with the pilot's eye camera. It's a rough air out there today, gusty, and it's a really precise job of flying to hold the plane in a precise bank and not lose track of where you are. The race is just about to begin now. An air start, 5 aircraft entered in the race, flown by an assortment of men ranging from photographers to airline pilots. And so with the air start of the race about to begin, let's tune in and listen to Walt Ulrich and his AT-6 start plane.
Oh, we're starting down. Oh, race control, we're starting in.
5 airplanes Number 7, flown by Noel Gersol, a photographer. Number 44, flown by Donald Clark. Number 9, flown by Philip Livingston. Number 11 by Bert Jensen, an airline pilot. And number 77 by Bryant Morris.
You got a race, Staggerwing.
And they're off in the first lap, with number 7, a white Staggerwing, flown by Noel Gersol, in the lead almost immediately. Hotly pursued by number 11, Bert Jensen, in the red and yellow Staggerwing. Third, fourth, and fifth places here occupied by number 9, Phil Livingston, number 44, Donald Clark, and number 77, Bryant Morris. There's number 7. Down the banks straightaway, going as fast as he can, up to about 195 miles an hour maximum speed, and it's bouncy and jouncy out there. Thousands of these Staggerwings were built during World War II and in the years immediately preceding the war, used by the military for executive transportation, and later used in training aircraft as well. The airplane handles reasonably well in the air, but it's sloppy on the ground, especially in crosswinds. Cockpit visibility is limited, and so there are co-pilots carried there as safety observers. Here's number 3, 4, and 5 entries coming up, hotly pursuing Gersol and Jensen. There's number 44 passing number 9. And the order we're in now, as the race progresses, is Noel Gersol, number 7, leading by about 4 or 5 airplane lengths. Number 11, Bert Jensen, an airline pilot, in second place. Number 44 moving up to third place. Number 9 in fourth place. And last, number 77, Bryant Morris. None of the planes is more than about 250 feet off the ground as they round those turns. You can see how close they come to colliding with one another. It's tricky flying, especially when it's windy, as it is today. 30 to 35 knot winds gusting out there. And the only advantage these airplanes have, the thing that's holding them up there neatly, is the extreme power they possess in their big 450 horsepower radial engines. They're relatively lightweight aircraft. And here they come, roaring down the back straightaway. Number 7 in the lead. There goes the white plane, closely followed by number 11. And flying real low, number 44. Holding third place, but not by much. Scarcely 15 feet off the deck. That's tough flying with these high winds. Rounding the back course pylon now, number 7, Gersol, still in the lead, hotly pursued by number 11, Bert Jensen, an airline pilot. And here's number 3, the third place aircraft, number 44. There's Gersol in the lead in 7, followed by 11. And here comes 77, making his move to pass 44. 77 up high. He's going to dive down to gain more speed and zoom ahead of 44. 7 and 11 still holding first and second place on this straightaway. And there's the maneuver as 77 moves in for the kill to take 44. High and low flying, just a few feet off the deck. 44 on the below, 77 up on top. By flying high, 77 hopes to gain speed in a steep dive as he rounds the pylon. By flying low, 44 hopes to gain ground effect. Bouncy winds off the desert floor to give him more lift and thus more speed for relative amounts of engine power. 1 lap left to go, and Noel Gersol, number 7, holding his lead over Bert Jensen, flying the red and white plane, number 11. A reminder for you NFL Monday night fans, this Monday it's Baltimore versus Green Bay from Milwaukee, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Here's the battle of first and second. Gersol flying the white plane, number 7, holding his lead over number 11, Bert Jensen, as they make ready for the home stretch. There's 7 rounding the pylon. Very tight. 11 up high, hoping to, with a diving maneuver, get ahead of 7. He's gaining a little bit. He's gaining a little bit. And there he makes his move. Bert Jensen, 11, diving down. It's very close. It looks like he may have the lead. No, not quite. 7 is ahead. Noel Gersol holding his lead as they sweep down the finish line. That's it. Noel Gersol wins. And here are the official results. This is Noel Gersol, the winner, taxiing up in number 7. Second place went to Donald Clark, number 44. And third place to Phil Livingston in number 9. Bert Jensen and Bryant Morris, who had actually finished second and third, would drop back to 4th and 5th places, respectively, with both planes being penalized for cutting pylons too closely. Here's number 44, the second-place aircraft, Donald Clark, taxiing up. These Beech Staggerwings are unique in racing since they carry a co-pilot because of their poor visibility. Let's get a word in now with the winner, Noel Gersol, and Mike, his co-pilot.
Noel and Mike, how does it feel to win the first Beech Staggerwing race ever won?
It's beautiful. It was great. I hope we can do it next year again.
What won for you?
I don't know.
It's beautiful flying. He did a great job. He put it right on the deck and held the pylons nice and tight.
It's kind of hairy because the visibility isn't very great, but you just hope the other guy isn't on climbing up your back, you know.
Thanks, Mike and Noel, and good luck to you. We're watching the final pilot's briefing for the unlimited race, that race of World War II fighter planes, a brutal test of engine power and pilot skill. Let's listen in.
Airplane number 1, Leroy Penhall. Airplane number 81 was holding the number 7th place. And as backup...
That's Bob Hoover, who'll be flying the lead plane that starts the race, briefing the pilots just before they take off. The P-51 Mustang and the Grumman F-8F Bearcat, both of World War II vintage, are the two types of planes that'll be flying in this unlimited classic. Here's the start and finish pylon. Before the race gets underway, let's take a look at the course they'll be flying. It's 12 laps, 8.5 miles long, an oval horseshoe-shaped course. It's nearly 3 times as long as the 3-mile course that the Beech Staggerwings flew in the earlier race. Sweeping in low and fast, they round the pylon, as we again see here on our ABC miniature model of the total course. And here's the back straightaway, where they pick up speed, some getting up as high as 420 miles an hour. And here's a wide shot from the grandstand showing the desert bowl that Stead Field sits in, the site of these 1970 National Air Races. Pylons 4, 5, and 6. And then, after rounding them, down the straightaway into the home stretch. Now let's get a word with the man who's won this race 5 times in a row.
Darrell Greenemeyer, world's champion speed record holder for propeller aircraft, out to win his 6th consecutive air race championship. Darrell, this Bearcat is so modified it doesn't even look like a Bearcat anymore. What have you done to it?
Well, you name it, we've done it. We just hacked the tar out of it. It's the wings are clipped off. We got a small canopy on it, and we took the oil coolers out of it and changed it, put in the back end, and took a lot of weight out of it, all the armament and, you know, that kind of stuff.
Is that why she's so fast?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think the engine pulls pretty good power, and I've got a big prop and turn it slower than most people, and we just hit on a combination. You know, aerodynamics is a funny thing. You just got to hit it.
Darrell, you routinely, day to day as a Lockheed test pilot, fly the 2,000-mile-an-hour plus SR-71. What compels you, what drives you to fly a 480-mile-an-hour World War II 30-year-old piston engine fighter?
Well, it's, you might call it legalized buzzing out here. We can get out and get as low as we want and as fast as we want, and no one says anything.
And at 80,000 feet in the SR-71, you can't do that.
Well, that's exciting, let me tell you. You can't beat it.
Let's introduce the other pilots. Lyle Shelton, 38 years old, airline pilot, flying an F-8F Bearcat. Mike Loning, big game outfitter, flying a P-51 Mustang. Howard Keith, a newspaper executive, flying the red, white, and blue Miss America. Airline pilot Clay Lacey flying still another P-51. And Darrell Greenemeyer favored to win. Leroy Penhall, a contractor. Here's Penhall. And there's more than 2,000 horsepower in the engine of this sleek, brightly colored red and cream airplane warming up. And here's one of the most beautiful airplanes, the red and white Bearcat flown by Gunther Balls. All the engines turning over now as they get ready to taxi out. And this classic, this test of brute power and strength is about to get underway. Wait, Darrell Greenemeyer seems to be having trouble. His engine is conked out. It seems to be stalled. And we'll try to get back there. His ground crew seems to be moving in, about to tear in. We don't know what the problem is as yet. And they're plugging in a ground power cart to turn over that big engine. And this big, highly modified Bearcat starting to turn over, but it's serious if it doesn't keep firing up. Right, there she goes. Turning over smoothly now, or so it seems to be. The world's fastest piston-powered plane. And it looks like Greenemeyer is ready to taxi out with the rest of them. First, in line, Lyle Shelton, number 77 in his Bearcat. He had the top qualifying speed of 369 miles an hour. Now Clay Lacy in number 64, his Mustang. Snoopy flying as co-pilot in the back seat. Mike Loning, number 2, in his brightly colored P-51. Followed by Howard Keith, number 11 in another Mustang, red, white, and blue. Then Gunther Balls in that beautiful F8F Bearcat of his. Number 7. And Darrell Greenemeyer's highly modified Bearcat. Finally, Leroy Penhall in his Mustang. And here's the in-the-air start of the Unlimited Classic. 6 of the 7 contestants lined up behind Bob Hoover. Darrell Greenemeyer's never made the lineup. He's in trouble. He's coming back in. He's attempting to land, and it looks like he's having landing gear trouble. There's one of his gear down and the other apparently slowly dropping. He's being bounced about by the wind, yawing about, and he's trying to get her down, using up runway at a fast clip. Yawing back and forth, slowing her up, got the nose up now, still attempting to bleed off speed. A little bit fast, rough air. Still fighting her in. But he touches her down and holds her down. We don't know what Greenemeyer's problem is as yet. The crowd's standing up and watching anxiously as the emergency and fire trucks race out to the end of the runway to 5-time winner Greenemeyer's planes. There doesn't seem to be any sign of a fire or any smoke coming from the plane. Now they're lining up for the start. They're in the air, roaring by, getting ready for the first lap. There they are, paced by Bob Hoover's black P-51 Mustang. He's getting them in position for the start. Greenemeyer's attempting to start his engine, and we still don't know what the problem was. Could be a pressure problem with the nitrogen system he uses to charge up his landing gear. There's Bob Hoover in his black P-51 leading the rest of the planes for the Unlimited. And there goes Greenemeyer, fired up, getting ready to taxi out now, attempting to join the planes as they roar by, lined up for the start. Greenemeyer's not going to make it in time, but he's game anyway. He's going to race it, even though he doesn't appear to have a ghost of a chance of winning. There they are, sweeping by on the start of the first lap. Bob Hoover pulling up and out of the way. It's Howard Keith, Mike Loning, and Lacy battling for first place, with Keith taking an early lead. Low and too slow. He's still got one gear stuck, one up and one wheel down. Number 11, Howard Keith, looks like he's jumped out in first place. Here comes Keith in the lead. Now, there's Shelton in trouble. He's apparently blown his engine, and he's trailing smoke. It looks like he's lost his oil pressure. He's declared a mayday, and he's attempting to slow her down and get in for a landing. He's going to have a tricky time getting that plane down in one piece. There he's turning now for a short, circling approach. 7 contestants in the race to start with. We're now down to 6. Lyle Shelton out of the race, attempting to make a safe emergency landing. And Clay Lacy has just taken the lead. Touchdown, using up runway fast. It was a hot landing. Still smoking. And it's windy, gusty, and bumpy out here. He's still rolling out at high speed. Here's Greenemeyer, still fighting his own problems as he sweeps by. 1 gear up, 1 gear down, still in last place. The question is, can Shelton get stopped in time? It looks like he may have ground looped the plane, but she didn't turn over. There go the fire and rescue trucks, out to be sure. Still smoky and dusty out there, but it looks like Shelton is apparently okay. There's Howard Keith sweeping by in second place. Clay Lacy up high has grabbed the lead. There he is, number 64. Keith running a close second with Mike Loaning in third. Leroy Penhall in fourth place, attempting to move up. Lacy up high there in the purple People Eater. Keith down below, holding second in his white P-51, plane number 11. Each of those planes doing better than 350 miles an hour, some up to 390 and 400 miles an hour on the straightaways. And as they come around the pylons, it's a brutal physical test for these pilots. 4.5 and 5 Gs, cramming you up against the seat and the cockpit wall, and your body's being bent as they do 90-degree banks. But if you don't do those 90-degree steep banks, and you don't take the high G-force or gravity load, you lose speed. And therein is one of the secrets of the race. It is indeed a brutal physical test. Clay Lacy, plane number 64, clearly in the lead up high. The rest of the pack attempting to gnaw away at Lacy's lead, but not getting very far. Down the straightaway now, they're all flying down low, incidentally, except for Lacy, attempting to pick up a few knots more speed, using ground effect off the desert floor. Lacy prefers to play it safe up high. That way, on the steep turns around the pylons, he's clear of any danger of mid-air collision. But he runs the risk of cutting the pylons too closely. Lacy still in the lead here. Now Leroy Penhall, plane number 81, attempting to move up on Mike Loaning. Penhall's in fourth place, but there he goes, moving up on Loaning. And it looks like he's taken him. Penhall has moved into third place, dropping Loaning in the black plane into fourth place. A beautiful piece of airwork. Recapping where we stand now, Clay Lacy, flying the purple People Eater, as we call it, plane number 64, is in the lead, followed by Howard Keith in another P-51. In second place, Leroy Penhall, as we're seeing here, has just taken third place for Mike Loaning, who now trails in fourth place. Here's the wounded Doc, Darrell Greenemeyer, still in last place. And here's what it looks like from a pilot's eye point of view, shot earlier by our ABC Sports cameramen. Don't forget now, next week, regional NCAA football. Check your local listings for the game in your area. Today, however, for certain of you viewers in the Northeast, it's Washington versus Stanford, with Heisman Trophy candidate Jim Plunkett following Wide World of Sports. Here's the view again from the cockpit as you rack around those 90-degree turns. 400 miles an hour. There's Penhall coming on strong with Keith slowing down. And the average speeds out here today look very high. It's close up to 400 miles an hour. And there's Penhall moving up fast. There he goes, jumping into third place now with Keith in trouble, falling back into fourth place. It looks like Keith's got a control problem. We don't see any smoke. But the plane seems to be getting some kind of yawing motion, and Keith has slowed down. Now Clay Lacy appears to have a problem, a different kind of problem. We've gotten word from the judges that Lacy apparently cut a pylon too close. If that's true and the decision holds up, Mike Loning, who's holding on to second place, will be the winner. There's Loning. Keith with a control problem. And there's Keith with his control problem, rounding one of the pylons and coming perilously close to Gunther Balls. Really tight. So there's Loning holding on to second place, which may turn out to be first place if Lacy, as these initial reports from the judges indicate, is disqualified for cutting a pylon. There goes Loning at almost 400 miles an hour. And Leroy Penhall was moved up into a solid third place. Clay Lacy way ahead, a third of a lap ahead of all the other planes, but he may have been disqualified. And here we go into the final lap. Leroy Penhall in third place. Howard Keith holding fourth place even with his problem. And it's a crime. Keith was doing beautifully. He might even have won. There goes Keith. And Gunther Balls way back in fifth place. Speeds of more than 400 miles an hour here so far. Mike Loning flashing by, holding on to second place neatly, and that may turn out to be first place. And the red and cream P-51 of Leroy Penhall. In fourth place, Keith. Here comes Loning. Down the back straightaway. Here's the final lap. Keith still plugging away. And here's the finish. Clay Lacy flashing by the stop-start pylon, but not getting the checkered flag, even though he's more than a third of a lap ahead of anybody else. Too bad for Lacy. It's his 8th try. But it looks like Mike Loning will turn out to be the winner if the judge's initial ruling holds up. Here's Loning zooming by, getting the checkered flag. Looks like he's going to turn out to be the winner. There's Leroy Penhall, number 3. And here's Keith, going by in fourth place. And Darrell Greenemeier sticking it out to the end. Here's Greenemeier landing safely. We suspect his problem was one of getting his gear up rather than down. And how's this one for a twist? Clay Lacy has been declared the winner. The judges ruled that the pylon judge who called the cut was out of position. There's number 77. After it ground loop. And it's a wonder Howard Keith was able to land his plane safely. Keith finished fourth. Looks like the entire rudder trim tab was blown off the tail. This shot caught it right after it came off in the first turn of lap 10. Right in the air. What a disappointment for Mike Loning. He thought he'd neatly won. From fourth, he worked his way up to second, and then because of an over-eager pylon judge, was declared the winner. But the official winner today is Clay Lacy, who wins $7,200. Let's move over and get a word with him. And here's Clay Lacy, the man who lost while thinking he'd won and then came back to be judged the winner by the judges here at the 1970 races. Clay, what happened around those pylons? Some of the judges apparently thought you cut 2 pylons too close.
In the number 2 lap, when Lyle Shelton had his emergency and called a mayday, I pulled up high to give him a chance to get on the ground, and it made it appear that I was inside the pylon from where they were standing. But to judge a pylon properly, a person has to lay down on the ground and sight straight up the pylon. Turned out that the pylon judges on number 3 were actually standing about 10 feet inside of the pylon.
So you did turn out to be the winner.
Finally, after 8 times, my position is number 1 for a change.
Clay, congratulations.
That's it from Reno and the 1970 National Air Races. A cliffhanger and a race that literally and figuratively left us up in the air until the very end.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This has been ABC's Wide World of Sports.